Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to AMA with EuroSTAR. We are here with Mark Raihlin, Senior Account Executive of Codacy, for a quick-fire 4 questions round of Ask Me Anything. So Mark, first up, your first question: what are the advantages of static code analysis and why should I use it?
Thank you, Susan. When we talk about static code analysis, we first of all want to distinguish it from dynamic code analysis. The simple difference is that static code analysis looks at the source code of what developers are writing, while dynamic analysis is actually running the software to understand if there's any issues in it. So static code analysis is a really powerful tool because it's capable of scanning your source code, which is much faster than executing any tests later on. So you always want these two combined in your solution. A lot of people do manual code reviews, which strictly speaking can also be considered static code analysis, but there's a lot of automation tools that help find common errors, common issues on the fly. So when we talk about static code analysis, it's about scanning of the source code, using these automation tools, using different patterns that consider all the different best practices across a lot of different languages. And without that, you basically spend almost half of your time as a developer reviewing your code changes manually.
Great, thank you for that. Obviously, when you analyze, you get a lot of data and insights. So what insights could I use to improve the productivity and efficiency of my team?
So a lot of questions, or a lot of people I talk to, I ask them the question, how do you measure your code quality? And it's a really difficult question to answer, to be honest with you, because most people don't have the metrics in place to say, what is my code health, right? And also, where is it trending over time? So using these sort of analysis tools that give you insights on the productivity, on the efficiency of your team, and also of your source code is a really good way to get started and be able to frame the question, right, of what is going wrong. When we talk about software quality metrics, there's a lot of different ways to do it. There's a lot of tools out there that approach the problem from different angles. When we specifically speak about source code metrics, well, the most common ones that we want to consider would be different types of issues, which you could also consider as linting problems. So this is not only styling related things, but also security or error-prone type of issues. Besides that, there is other metrics that look at things as, for example, the complexity of the code, right? If I write a code file that is overly complex, and the actual metric is called cyclomatic complexity, that is going to be extremely difficult to maintain in the long run. So you want to make sure to keep your code simple. So that's a metric you definitely want to look into. Some other metrics would include things like duplications. This is a known one, and it's possible to find that manually. But if you have tools to look into this metric in an automated manner, it's going to be possible to detect these things on the fly as well. As I said, a lot of different metrics out there, a lot of ways to look into this. But generally speaking, when we speak about the productivity and the efficiency of your engineering team, you do want to have tools in place to be able to measure and quantify things that otherwise will basically be based on gut feeling and biased decisions from the team.
Great, there's a lot in there. Thank you for that. There's a lot of tools out there these days. And can you tell us a bit about what the landscape of code review tools looks like? Sure.
So a lot of people I talk to, they're reaching out because they want to learn about what tools exist out there. One of the very typical cases is that the engineering organization is in a time of restructuring, right? They're building new CI/CD pipelines. They really want to boost the efficiency of their team and the following best practices in general. And there's a lot of tools they find as they do these initial steps of research. So let me just break down what the landscape looks like when we talk about code quality or code review tools. On the one hand, you have, well, things that you can basically use for free, which are open source linters. Many of you probably know that. We're talking about things like ESLint or checkstyle, for example. Those provide static analysis and they can be plugged pretty much anywhere in your pipeline. they're particularly useful for the individual developer. They're not so useful when it comes to aggregating your metrics and understanding them at a higher level. Then you have tools such as check marks or Veracode, which are more focused on the security side of things. The reason why they're great is that they do really deep checks, and they allow you to really understand if there's any security vulnerabilities from all angles that it can be analyzed. But unfortunately, they take a lot of time to analyze the code, and they happen much later in the process. It's not an early feedback system that you get. Okay, most of you probably are familiar with a tool called SonarQube. It's been a tool that provides static analysis solutions for development teams. That's been existing on the market for a while, and while it does provide a lot of different types of checks, it's also not exactly targeted at the developers or at modern practices, by which I mean specifically the Git flow or the branching workflow. So to tackle that, there are tools such as Codacy or Code Climate, for example, that are really built around the notion of agile development, of branch analysis. And that's exactly where these tools come in. So they try to balance the best of both worlds, give feedback to the developers, but also cover a wide range of languages and technologies that they can analyze.
Okay, and I see you mentioned Codacy. You would be a pretty big expert on Codacy, being your company, but could you tell us a little bit about if I need anything in particular to be able to use Codacy?
So in order to use Codacy, you really only need two things. The first is having an account with one of the supported Git providers that Codacy is able to integrate with. And by that, I mean specifically GitHub, GitLab, or Bitbucket. The vast majority of teams uses one of these tools. So as soon as you have repositories hosted there, you can integrate them with Codacy. The integration takes 2 minutes to get your first repository analyzed. So it's very straightforward. The second thing you need is using one of the 32 languages that we support today, which again are 99% of the languages used in the market. So there is high chance that you're able to use Codacy in starting today.
Great, Mark. Thanks so much. That was the end of our 4-question quickfire AMA with Mark Raihlin, Senior Account Executive of Codacy. Thank you, everybody, for joining us here today. And thank you, Mark, for that very, very fast round of questions and answers. We really appreciate it. If anybody wants to contact Mark directly, you will see his contact details down here. Please don't hesitate to get in touch. And again, thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you, Susan. Thanks for having me.
Right. Goodbye, everybody.